I don't know if I believe that like everybody needs to learn how to write a prompt because I think UIs will scrub that away from you. The more important thing to learn is just what is it possible to do, and then think creatively of how to put it in use to have greater impact for what you're trying to achieve. Fully realizing why you're trying to apply it, and again what your end goal is trying to be, or what you're trying to achieve. Because if you do it more with like a lens of I have to adopt AI, apply it everywhere, it's the future, you could actually end up doing more damage than good. And I've seen it firsthand in customer success. Sends the wrong email, it duplicates content, it
Yeah.
hallucinates. And when that happens, and now makes its way to an actual end customer who thought that when they bought their service, that they were getting this world-class, highly personalized, human-led customer experience, they get upset. And then that drives, that can build and facilitate churn. And so it could go the other way. Customer success is selling a product. They're selling customer success. And I don't think we have any evidence yet that customers who bought that are totally happy with it being totally replaced by AI. Now, that's a little maybe even different in other functions. They can take support, for example, where
Mhm.
AI is eating it a little bit faster. And I think that there's an interesting reason for that, and that's because
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Customer Success Talks Real Challenges, Experts Advice, the podcast dedicated to helping those transitioning into customer success and early career customer success managers. I'm your host, Byron Toruño, passionate customer success manager, a customer success nerd. And just like you, I'm still learning about this amazing world of customer success. It has been around 3 years and a half, 3 years, and maybe 9 months since this project started. And it's crazy because now I am a customer success manager, but there's always new stuff popping up here and there. Incredible. So today is one of those, which is AI, which we have been talking about it, maybe at least what I remember for the last 2 years. And ChatGPT came and exploded everything in the world. And now we are in the present. Now we are literally seeing a lot of platforms and a lot of tools out there that are AI powered. And that's part of the conversation today. Joining us today is someone who brings a unique perspective to today's conversation, Jamie Davidson, who is the CEO and co-founder of Vitally. Before founding Vitally, actually, Jamie, you served as the Chief Technologies Officer, CTO, on other companies. So you bring both the technical, but also the strategic lens to how AI can reshape customer success, but a whole organization, a whole platform as well, not just talking about it, but actually implementing. So in today's episode, we will explore why you build Vitally. I'm really curious to know about that journey, how you invested in AI, and what it means for the future of customer success. So that's the idea of today's episode. Maybe also the risk of falling behind as well. So let's jump in, Jamie. Let's make this official. Welcome to Customer Success Talks.
thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm also super curious to hear what you have to say. But first, I want to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Vitally, trusted by 600 plus companies. It supports every CSM role, from customer success managers to operations to even executives. Please keep in mind that for taking a qualified demo call, which is basically after an initial discovery call, you will receive a free pair of AirPods Pro. So, what are you waiting for? If you're looking for a customer success platform, or if you're just curious enough and you want to check out Vitally, go into today's episode description and click on vitally.io/CS Talks. And let's continue today's episode. What's the reason behind building Vitally? Why one day you woke up, I think 10, 13 years ago, and you just said, today I feel like being an entrepreneur and just go through it? What happened?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in the startup world for I don't even know how long now, like 15 years. As you pointed out, I've been a CTO 2 companies before this. And I kind of stumbled into customer success through my last startup. It was a company called Pathgather. We were an enterprise like learning platform sold to like the Fortune 500, so big companies. And after 3 years of being our CTO, I one day walked in CTO and walked out Chief Customer Officer. I did that to myself. I appointed myself in the role because I was one of our 2 co-founders, and I just saw it as my problem, or I saw it as my job to solve problems wherever they were, and we were in need of some leadership on like the post-sale side of the business. And so I kind of threw myself head first into the world of customer success. This was 2016, so yeah, like 9 years ago. And the first thing I did was go to market to look for tools to help. I was a clean slate, like I could be influenced and sold in any variety of ways because I certainly was more of a CTO that was now masquerading as a chief customer officer. And I looked at the market of customer success like software back at the time, and I left wanting more from just what I saw in the market, at least what the market was offering at that time. Um, the main driving motivation was something that would be easier to implement, easier to use, because I was being told to give companies and vendors in the space like 9 months to get implemented before I started seeing value. And I had a whole new CS team starting like the next week. And so that timeline didn't align with me. I needed something much sooner. So I thought there was an opportunity in the space to kind of bring a more modern and hopefully faster kind of moving and faster platform that can deliver time to value quicker. So I started Vitally.
That's amazing. How long ago did Vitally started as a
Uh,
company, as a platform?
Vitally was technically incorporated in January of 2017, so it's been almost 8.5 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was the customer success landscape back then when you
It
started?
was, yeah. Customer success itself didn't really start gaining steam until, yeah, like probably like the early, 2010s. When I say gaining steam, I mean like, companies actually adopting it and using it. It was still, it was an upwards trajectory around that time, but it still wasn't, terribly uncommon for teams to still be trying to figure out, for companies to be trying to figure out they should build customer success. But like common terms that we now all know and most of us adopt into our customer success, like scaled and touch customer success, were barely even a thing. Most
Mm,
customer success back in that time was like high touch, that white glove kind of wine and dine version of customer success. And yeah, in the years since we've now gone, I mean, that obviously still exists, and almost every team does that, but now a lot of teams do scale tech touch kind of motions, which gained, I think, more popularity in the late 2010s.
I can imagine I was not doing customer success 8 years ago, but I can imagine that by having several conversations now, Jamie, that it probably was a really manual process as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of the other, opportunities I saw in the space was to reduce the manual efforts, to invest in automation, to invest in better data, and help CSMs and CS teams automate the repetitive, get as much as they could on autopilot so they get more time to focus on creative and strategic, discussions with their customers.
Yeah, indeed. And now that you are implementing Vitally within your platform, because we just had a conversation with Kelly Turner, the
Mhm.
global customer success manager at Vitally, and we
Mhm.
were focusing more on the tactical use cases individually for these customer success team tools that they're using within your company. But today is going to be more into the wide, big picture of how is Vitally implementing AI within your tool, because Vitally is indeed one of those customer success tools to have within the toolbox. So why are you investing now on AI and not 3 years ago or not in 5 years from now? Why
Yeah.
today?
A couple of years ago, it was just very early.
Yeah.
You know, I we've all seen, things become hot overnight, and um I like to ensure that one, there's lasting power to something, which I think this was pretty clearly going to have in the early days. But two, the technology was just evolving so fast that I think there was a lot of uncertainty in the early years around what was possible, what could be done if would the technology be stable? If I built on it now, will I have to build on something else in the coming months? Um, and there wasn't a lot of real world examples of what you could do and where
Yeah.
you could invest. And so, like, if I was CEO of, a much larger company with significant, capital and resources, you better believe I would have, created an AI like team and research arm from day one to start investing and spending money and trying to figure out answers to all those questions. But we've historically been, a little bit more of a lean and mean team. And I wanted to ensure that we, had confidence in where we were going, that we had a clear road to get there, that it wasn't going to cost an insane amount of capital to get there. And so basically it was like a wait for normalization, wait for things to kind of stabilize kind of approach for us before we then invested in it. And then, yeah, to answer your question, like, why not, years from now? It's because it's very clear now that it's not going away. And, everyone running a software company is figuring out how to, you know, adapt AI into their products. And if you aren't investing at this point, I mean, it's not necessarily universal yet. Like, I don't think every product needs to have AI, but in spaces like us where we're dealing with tons and tons of data and a lot of it heavily unstructured and conversational, if you aren't investing in it now, your competitors are certainly going to, and that's gonna present some real problems for you.
Yeah. But you said that maybe some companies don't need to invest in AI right now.
Hmm.
My from my point of view, it's like AI is like the energy. I mean, when electricity was created a couple years ago,
Yeah.
then one product, the microwave popped up, and then the television. I think AI is the same now. So don't you feel that actually everyone should? Because I'm scared of, let's say I have a company in the future, just because I hear AI here, AI here, there, I will just invest on it just because I want to be part of the cool people.
Yeah. I mean, It, I don't think it's universal yet. I think it's universal for platforms like which we are, because in software you've got point solutions and you got platforms. I mean it's an overly simple way to describe it, but we'll just for the sake of the analogy or the argument, you got wide ranging broad platforms and then very very focused point solutions. Most platforms deal in large amounts of data, which again is ripe for AI, and so I'd be hard pressed to find a platform that shouldn't be investing in AI. Um,
Hmm.
Point solutions, I think, yeah, there's probably certainly some that are still fine. Like, uh, for example, I don't know, Calendly. Should they really be, heavily investing in AI when there's a very specific point solution that has a very specific workflow? There's
Hmm.
probably opportunities there. Are they super obvious? And is it clear that it'll drive unique value to their users in ways? Because like the other thing is that like, if a company invest in this that
Yeah.
deviates from something else and that deviates resources from something else. And so like every, CEO has to ask themselves a question, if I invest in here, is that the right decision or can I provide more value over there? And I think it's probably, certainly the majority of point solutions should be investing in it. But should everyone, could they actually spend those resources to build more value in different, non-AI wise for their users? I certainly suspect there's some out there. It's not my area of expertise, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
hypothesize more than I already have. But there's certainly I would assume some exceptions to the rule already.
I mean, I said at the beginning that Vitally, it's definitely one of those tools that you should be in the toolbox, right?
Mhm.
It's meant for customer success, not only individually, but also higher up, customer success managers, leaders, and so on. How is AI being built right now? How is AI being built into the platform? So I hear this episode and I said to myself, well, maybe I should implement Vitally within my company, or as an customer success manager, I should be open to work with Vitally
Yep.
because, like you said, one of your drivers was to make a platform that was easy to implement and use. And I have seen a couple that they're not that easy. They have too many buttons, too many functions that I don't even need.
Yeah,
So,
for
how is
sure.
that implemented?
Like how are we implementing AI?
Yeah, within your
Yeah.
platform.
Um, I mean, in a variety of ways, but the area that we've really honed in on first is I mean, in two areas. One is day-to-day customer engagement, which is, of course, a heavy function of most customer success teams. I mean, if you take a CSM's, if you take a look at a CSM's calendar, it's, heavily going to, be going to include like a bunch of customer meetings. Of course, they're then, sending customer emails, sometimes at scale, sometimes, heavily personalized. They might be running implementations, or you're having a petition team do those. And, it's heavily customer engagement and relationship focused. That in and of itself includes a bunch of back and forth data, and again, heavily unstructured at times.
Mm.
Meeting transcripts, so you're having discussion like this, and it's being recorded. That typically needs to be before the world of AI needs to be tracked in some structured way, and a platform like Vitally, or maybe the CRM if you're still using your CRM for customer success. So you need to, like, for example, one, send them a meeting follow-up to the customer, send them a summary, and help them make sure that you're all aligned on what was discussed. You need to track like the tasks that need to get done and complete those. You need to, I don't know, maybe you're having a discussion about the product and you need to extract like bugs that were mentioned or feature requests. You need to, again, take this unstructured data and structure it in a way that can be reported on and tracked and organized into work. And before AI, that was heavily manual. AI can help teams now, CSMs especially, uh, automate that data entry essentially. And so we're focusing some resources there to help automate and like make meetings and email communications and conversations just more productive, and helping them automatically do that data entry or data extraction from what was discussed. The other areas, of course, aimed at just better understanding a customer. Like, of course, this the one universal truth of CSM's job is they need to know who their customers are and need to know what's going on about them. But again, we're dealing with a ton of data. Not only, again, the communications that are happening, but product usage data, who's clicked what button and when, and how often have they logged in? When's the renewal? And are they contracting or expanding? A whole bunch of other stuff. Like, that data is hard to understand for especially non-technical folks in customer success, and platforms like us help CSMs and customer success teams understand that. AI can help further. So we're investing in AI to help, inform you about what's going on with the customer. What are the area of opportunities? What are the areas of concerns? Is a customer at risk? Is a customer likely to expand in their next renewal? And helping leveraging AI to help answer those questions so CSMs can now have better insight into who their customers and what's going on, and be more productive with them, so that they, again, the end goal is to give them more time to focus on the unique, the creative, and just be more strategic with their customers.
And not only with their customers, but also internally. That's the thing.
Mhm.
Like customer success, there's so much work internally that needs to be done.
100%. Yeah. That's I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that we've also focus on, and I think it's somewhat unique in our space, because most historically customer success software is focused just on that customer relationship and the CS team.
Yeah.
And it overlooks, the internal strategy and really the internal value of the data that exists in a customer success platform. If all of it's aimed at, trying to educate a CSM on how healthy a customer is, it's underselling its value, because in this data is also information to educate the business on what's going wrong, what's going right, where to invest more, where to invest less. Like, in the data that we have in Vitally are answers to, I think, every question that a company has ever faced and will face. And customer success software has historically struggled to unlock the value of that data for the business, because they position it towards the customer. And yeah, we can leverage AI to help educate business leaders about what's going on with customers, especially across customer segments, so they can make those decisions and really evolve through their customer base.
And Jamie, one of my individual challenges is, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people might have the same challenge. It might be different based on the company they're working, like if they're how mature is the company. But one of my challenges as an individual collaborator is actually to know how impactful I am,
Yeah.
how my tasks, how this 1 hour of something that I'm doing 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you name the time, it's actually generating an impact.
Yep.
because that's an umbrella of so many tasks, like being on reactive on the email, even being proactive on your email, and trying to find strategically how to reach to that customer via email and caught their attention,
Hmm.
that and more. But how is Vitally enabling me to also show that impact?
That's a great question. I was talking to one of our customers like a month or so ago, and they brought this up, and they were like, "This is the holy grail of customer success. If we can
Yeah.
figure out how like a platform like Vitally can tell us, the impact of our work, it does that one meeting result in, increased product usage or customer expansion, then like we can, we have so much data to arm ourselves, especially in a world where teams are trying to operate with leaner resources and leaner budgets. How we do it is a variety of ways, and it's also evolving because we are investing in something new that I'm not going to quite touch on yet because it's still just kind of
Ah,
under
come
wraps.
on.
But it's a problem. I'll say this. I mean, we have a feature in our product called goals and allows you to like kind of track, um, if a customer gets to an insight that you want to get to. So like, for example, if you run a webinar and you want to send an email follow-up and engaging customers to use a product, you can use this feature to track, over a configured time frame, did customers, exhibit the behavior you wanted them to exhibit. And so you can, as that happens and you get that, then you can see, yes, like, 50% of the customers that received this email actually did use the feature I was trying to get them to get
Mm,
to do, or like, 25% of customers who went through this onboarding process did increase their revenue, by at least 5%. Like, so those problems are some things that we already solved. So we allow you to tie those goals, but they're aimed at the individual customer back to like any work being tracked in our product. But yeah, the next step for us is trying to zoom out and say, is your business reaching its goals essentially?
yeah.
You know, uh, if you have CSMs that are measured on NRR, like, are they hitting that? And if so, what are they doing? What are the ones that are hitting their NRR targets? What are the CSMs doing that the ones that aren't hitting their NRR targets are not doing? And so we're investing in some areas there. Again, I'm gonna kind of keep it a little bit vague because it's early on and it's not going to go to market until later this year. But we're investing in some interesting things here, and just stay tuned.
Okay, so it's coming. It's coming. Nice. You will see all the in today's episode description. You will see Vitaly's link as well to their website. So just be informed, so that way you will be always updated. I think you have a newsletter probably, so people can subscribe. Yeah.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
everything will come there. Vitally playbooks automate repetitive work and customer journeys, turning CSMs from reactive to proactive. Isn't that what we all want? It also enables new levels of CS productivity with tools from projects, conversations, surveys, and even goal tracking. So, what are you waiting for, everyone? Go ahead into today's episode description, click on the link vitally.io/CS talks, and let's continue today's episode. Jamie, let's see. We went from Vitally, how it started and how everything was created. We moved towards how talking about AI in general aspects, and then how AI is enabling your customers, a lot of customer success managers, or your users who are customer success managers, into enable them to be more efficient as well.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of afraid that be less space out there in the market, in the job market, for customer success. Do you believe in that, or should I just sleep well?
I mean, I think that I don't necessarily believe in it. I mean, I think that AI is a tool to help us get more done. It's not a tool to get our work done yet. I have a director of product manager marketing likes to say it's it can help you get a good start on your homework, but it's not what you turn in. And I like that analogy.
Mm,
Um, and I think that that's, almost everyone needs to kind of adopt that mindset of like, it almost turns us all into being people managers, but but instead of managing a person, we're managing AI. Because like in this new world, what we need to then understand is, okay, I have a set of responsibilities. CSM might look at their set of responsibilities in a very specific way of I need to meet with customers, I need to have these renewal discussions, I need to schedule these QBRs. But that's not really what they're supposed to be doing. That's the means to an end. The end goal is for the CSM to create the most successful customer possible that ideally pays you as much as possible. And what they're doing are just, items along that journey. And AI can help them reach the end destination with greater impact, greater productivity, and yeah, impact more and more customers. If that does happen, which ideally it does, what it then does is unlocks the business to go get more customers. And so what you're really looking at is just rather than looking at it in the lens of, okay, yeah, maybe I won't have a job from that lens. It's like, well, no, the goalpost will just continue to move. And what was once, your ability to manage, for example, 50 customers might turn
Yeah.
into 150, 200, 250 customers, which will then grow the customer base of the business from 2,000 to 5,000 to 7,000. And it's just the numbers get larger, but the end goal stays the same. And that's really the point of business is for us, the business to generate as much revenue and profit as possible at as low cost as possible. And AI is a tool to help us do that.
Absolutely. I think that one of the skills, I believe I have said this before as well, that it's not about AI taking over our jobs. I think that is people who will learn how to use AI that can take that job.
Yep.
Is, is it that a skill that we actually should start learning how to prompt? Because what is AI skill like for you? Like prompting is one.
Yeah, it is one. Everyone should be learning what AI can do for them. I mean, prompting
Mm.
is again a means to an end, and we've already seen plenty of AI focused products out there scrub away. We're doing the same thing. You scrub away the notion of a prompt and you build a more opinionated user interface on top of it. And so I don't know if I believe that like everybody needs to learn how to write a prompt,
Hmm.
the world's best prompt, because again I think UIs will scrub that away from you. It certainly doesn't hurt. So if you're curious in it, definitely learn it. But the more important thing to learn is just what is it possible to do, and then think creatively of how to put it in use to have greater impact for what you're trying to achieve. But again, like the analogy, or I think the requirement in that situation is that the individual human employee really, I look at it as they employ AI to help them do their job.
Hmm.
But the human is the one accountable, not the AI. And so it is probably a more important skill to start developing on again, like I think on like project management a little bit, on maybe even a little bit of people management, on it's almost like you're becoming the editor to AI. Like you need to know how to treat these things with the right level of skepticism, where to make tweaks, where to do things, with the human touch. And that's it's hard to even define what that skill is, but it's somewhere in the world of project management. It's just that typically in the past, project management was aimed at managing humans developing projects. Now it's going to think in the future going to be a bit of a hybrid approach where it's some humans and some AI doing the project.
It's like a co-pilot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you just touched on something that Kelly Turner, again, the SVP of Global Customer Success at Vitally, she was saying that before even learning how to prompt, using the formula and giving to the AI what you really need and want and what's the problem, she said that exactly what you said is first about identifying what you want from that.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you are not able to have the good, like AI is literally answering your question. Moving forward, what advice would you give to leadership on aligning AI strategies with the customer success goals, or aligning customer success goals with the whole company's
Yeah.
goals?
Well, I think step one is understanding what your goals are. And again, the goal of customer success is to retain and grow as many customers as possible, right? And so like I think again, everyone needs to make sure they first understand that goal and then figure out how AI can help with that. Um, Now, again, I think it's important to approach all of this still with a healthy amount of skepticism, uh,
Mm,
and a careful eye, because there's a lot of noise out there. Again, like,
yeah.
the reason we didn't invest in it from day one was because of that. It was not clear how stable it was and what was possible. And that's still somewhat true to this day, especially for those that are more non-technical. There's a lot of thought to, like, oh, I can do AI here, 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 and here, and like it's going to solve all my problems. And I don't think that's to me, that's like getting excited about the tool without fully realizing why you're trying to apply it, and again, what your end goal is trying to be, or what you're trying to achieve. Because if you do it more with like a lens of, I have to adopt AI, apply it everywhere, it's the future, you could actually end up doing more damage than good. And I've seen it firsthand in customer success, where an over eager CSM puts AI in charge of like sending an email, and they're just telling AI to send this email, and it sends the wrong email, it duplicates content, it
Yeah.
hallucinates. And when that happens, and now makes its way to an actual end customer who thought that when they bought their service, that they were getting this world-class, highly personalized, human-led customer experience, they get upset. And then that drives, that can build and facilitate churn. And so it could go the other way. And so, again, I think it's important for business leaders to not just immediately jump and think that like this is going to solve all the problems, without realizing, or without thinking critically about what goals they're trying to achieve, and how they can put the AI more to productive use to benefit and improve the output and impact of the existing team, and not as not necessarily to supplant them.
Yeah, especially there's change. There must be a big change management there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, like I talk about this a lot, with like AI and customer success, because I talk to potential buyers in the space, and they're like, they ask my question of like, is the future where is customer success just fully AI? And like, I mean, maybe way down the road, but I certainly don't think that we're there, because again, like, there's a market for what customer success is. Customer success is selling a product. They're selling customer success. And I don't think we have any evidence yet that customers who bought that are totally happy with it being totally replaced by AI. Now, that's a little maybe even different in other functions. Like, you can take support, for example, where
Mhm.
AI is eating it a little bit faster. And I think that there's an interesting reason for that. And that's because the bar for customer experience is, unfortunately but understandably, lowered in support. Like, we've all gone through subpar support experiences where we've had to call the cable company and, go through, 10 different, click number two, click number five, to get to
I
somebody
hate
who
that.
transfers you to somebody else. And then, we've been talking to support bots well before AI even existed,
Yeah, true.
online. The same thing is not true in customer success. And so that does an interesting thing to like the human psyche when they're engaging with support. Like, we kind of accept that frustration might occur. That's not there yet for customer success. And so I think the bar is much higher to clear. And that's important to not lose that human element yet, because the market still expects it.
So you're kind of given already what the function is going to look like maybe in 5 years.
Maybe you can ask
Oh.
the
Jamie, it's time to start wrapping up today's episode. I do have one more question for you, the last one of today's episode, and it's more like in this scenario because my goal since the beginning when I created this podcast was to help individual collaborators, people transitioning into CS and early career customer success managers. What advice would you give, or what steps would you give to an individual collaborator in a company where they're not yet using AI um, for their customers, but also for them as individuals? How can we push that from bottom top?
If I was not a CTO or a former CTO, I'd answer this question differently, because my immediate thought was, well, do it carefully, because you can't just go throw a whole bunch of your customer data at a at a chat GPT or some other AI tool without going through the right, internal security processes to make sure that that gets approved and adopted, because it goes against GDPR and other things. And so it's customer, you want to make sure you're not, giving and training these AI systems on data that your company hasn't, themselves fully adopted and said, yes, it's now an approved technology for us to use.
Yeah.
So be careful there. But proactivity does go a long way. And I think, exploring, like, we're actually this is a good analogy of what we're doing, or a good example. In about a month, we're having a big leadership on site for our company, inviting like the 12 of the company's like leaders and directors to New York, and we're dedicating a full day to showcasing internal AI productivity, like how our sales team, how our customer success team, how our support team have adopted AI internally to drive greater impact and greater results for their team. And we're doing that, in a public, company-wide setting, so we can all learn from each other. Because it is a bit of a black box at times of how somebody's using AI, and you can have some very creative and intelligent ICs doing something that everyone should be doing, and we want to open up a floor for that to occur. And I think that the same thing can be done and initiated from the IC level. Again, be careful with where you're sending customer data and whatnot, but start getting creative, start looking for tools out there, do some things, show your team members so that it rubs off on them. And if you build this, internal culture of essentially everybody's trying to kind of one up each other. It's a healthy competition, essentially, where, somebody does something with greater impact and less resources, and somebody else does it a little bit, somebody else does it a little bit, and then that kind of bubbles up. And so I would just say, yeah, be proactive, but also be transparent. Like, tell your team members, your coworkers, what you're doing, and show your direct manager, who shows their manager, and then you create this culture of sort of, one-upsmanship a little bit, but a culture of driving just change and innovation from the bottom up.
Wow, Jamie, thank you so much for all of those insights, taking us a little bit to the future of how the function is going to look like. Also, you cover a lot of what are the risks, not only the nice to have, but also those potential risks of implementing AI, and the risk also within customer success. There's no worse experience. It had happened to me that I just trust too much AI and then just send what it has there, and that's just not a good impression, because it's just obvious that it's not coming from a human. Jamie, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all of these nuggets, gold nuggets that you throw.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And everyone out there, remember, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time. I do not want to finish today's episode without letting you know that with Vitally, you can unlock collaboration with your customers through dedicated workspaces to execute on shared outcomes through data, feedback, and more. Also, with Vitally AI, yes, AI, it automates workflows and turns unstructured customer data into actionable insights. Wow. Go into today's episode description, click on vitally.io/CS Talks. And thanks to those sponsors, we are able to grow. I just purchased a new microphone, and I can continue purchasing more and more to continue growing and help everyone out there who is either transitioning into CS or early career customer success manager. Thank you, Vitally, for this opportunity, and thank you all for your support.